Now, I know I'm late to the party and I'm not saying anything profoundly groundbreaking here, but Shogun might be the best show of the year. Yeah. Emphasis on might though, as I'm yet to catch up on the rest of my 2024 television watch list. But be that as it may, here are some moments, 7 moments to be specific, of Yoshii Toranaga being shady and taking the cake as possibly Shogun's undisclosed main villain. Number 1. When one of his aides offers to end his own lineage to make atonements for speaking out of turn at a council meeting, you would think Toranaga would protect him, or at least suggest a milder punishments. But nah, he just allows it. He remains complicit. He spares the wife but okays the aide's decision to commit seppuku and slay their newborn baby in cold blood. Watching that play out, I was quite disappointed. Like, the only reason this fiercely loyal soldier got caught up in his crossfire was because he was defending your honor. He felt insulted on your behalf at the Inquisition and lashed out, albeit impulsively, justifiably. But as the story progressed and I got more immersed in this world and its mores, I chucked it up to just the way things were done back then. The Japanese were a slave to custom. That much from the world building was apparent. This was another world in another time period where morality was indeed subjective. Number 2. The cliffhanger with Buntaro. After fending off a horde of bandits to help smuggle Toranaga out of Osaka, he is left to die, high and dry on a dock as he watches the boats he was supposed to join them on drift off. Now, Buntaro was an a-hole, but he didn't deserve that. Blackthorn tries to go back for him, but he is just one voice. Toranaga, who could veto the consensus, remains mum, choosing to leave him behind and salutes him from a safe distance than risk getting captured. Not quite virtuous, but I suppose that's the Bushido code rearing its head again. Toranaga probably also had his fair share of sacrificing life and limb for his masters coming up, so it evens out, I guess. Or at least that's the way I rationalized it. The circle of life in the cutthroat era of 1600s Japan. Number 3. Toranaga's son dies, protecting his father's honor. Another soul lost. Another one bites the dust and fierce loyalty to his lord. It was so shocking and quite tragic. I couldn't wait to see Toranaga's reaction in the next installment. How he would mourn the loss, if it would break him or give him a fresh perspective on life. But nah. He breathed nary a word of it. He was unreadable and stoic as he was from the get-go. Couldn't even be bothered to attend the boy's funeral. He just watched the procession from his tower like Cersei from the Red Keep, and the only thing that was missing was a goblet. In its place, however, was a curious cough, likely another subterfuge to undermine his ops. And when he did go to the gravesite to acknowledge his son, he thanks him for buying him time against his rivals. On one hand, it's satisfying and wholesome to finally witness Toranaga appreciates his devoted fallen son. On the other, it's like, that was all he was good for, dying to keep you alive a few days more. Most fathers would trade their earthly possessions, including their lives, if it meant getting their sons back. But not Toranaga. This was a Hail Mary from the gods that he was fully prepared to take advantage of. And to add insult to injury, he carelessly gloats down the line. Thankfully, I have more sons. Wow. Number 4. Making Hiramatsu commit seppuku. This was arguably the most painfully pointless death in all the land. Well, not if you're counting being executed for touching a rotten bird, which Toranaga, by the way, considered insignificant in the face of Blackthorn's horror to it. His 5th shadiest moments that pales in comparison to the others, but back to the 4th one. A function of his pride and ambition. Having Hiramatsu, who was a father figure to him all his formative years, gut himself randomly as part of this grand plot to lure his enemies into a false sense of security. Hiramatsu agreed to it, so it softened the blow of the tragedy somewhat. But as harrowing as that was, none cast more of a pall over the show than the death of this next character. Number 6. Lady Mariko. I had excused Toranaga's selfishness up until this point, but this, for me, was the straw that broke the camel's hump. It was unforgivable. How they are going to continue season 2 without Mariko is unfathomable. She was the spirit and the heart soul of the show. She gave a human face to their draconian, morbid ways, diminutive in frame but unshaken in the winds of her duty to Toranaga. She was loyal to him unwaveringly. He knew that and capitalized on it, sent her into the lion's den knowing that whether she died or survived, it would score him a victory no less. Devious. At that point, you just have to wonder, how many good people have to die because of his stupid ambition? At first, he justifies his callousness with his duty and love for the heir, but I didn't buy it. Either the writers did a poor job establishing the deep bond he'd fostered with the heir, or there was another agenda afoot here, and it turned out to be the latter. In his final exchange with Yabushige, he reveals his true intention, to assume the mantle of Shogun and rule over New Japan, ushering in the era of great peace as once envisioned by the late Taiko. So his motives aren't exactly noble, but driven purely by ambition. You're no better than the rest of us, Yabushige intuits. He is a devil in disguise, a wolf in sheep's clothing. And you have to wonder, maybe his arch nemeses were onto something. Maybe Ishido was right to come after him as vehemently as he did. It even lends credence to Lady Ochiba's deep hatred for him. According to her, Gensei Achiko was only the muscle behind the operation, but he was the one who masterminded her father's assassination. Number 7. Killing villagers indiscriminately to keep up appearances. Having his men scour viciously for saboteurs of Anjin's ship when he in fact was the culprit. Conspiring with Mariko to have it sunk to keep blacks all marooned and under his thumb. Ishido didn't commit half of these atrocities on screen, not even a fraction, yet perception favors his rival as the supposed protagonist. And I guess this harks back to the hidden and perhaps unintentional theme of the corrosiveness of ambition, the insidiousness of it, a double-edged ginsu where well-intentioned men must steel their hearts against their loved ones and innocence to satisfy the pull destiny has on them. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You start out with a righteous cause, inflicting small evils on bad people for the greater good, until you become inoculated from it. Life no longer has value to you unless it's in service of the super objective. It consumes everything and everyone in its path. This is part of the genius of Shogun storytelling. No one is all good or all bad. They're all duplicitous and multidimensional. Their survival, in fact, depends on it. So much so, the closest we have now to a hero is Omi, Yabushige's nephew of all people, the only one who truly has a heart, who truly loves, who truly values, who has a conscience and a soul, more or less. In one episode, you see him behead a villager for irking him off. In the rest, you see him wrestle with the anguish of others. The only one to properly eulogize Nagakado, Toranaga's son, giving him a moving, heartfelt tribute that recontextualizes his demise as an honorable sacrifice. Undignified as it might have been, he at least went down swinging, with heart and with honor, lived in his father's name as he died in it. Omi is the refreshing balance of strategic thinking with humanity, has feelings for a courtesan, and mourns his uncle in his final moments. And though Mariko is gone, leaving behind a gaping void of charisma mixed with empathy that almost no one can fill, I feel Omi is equal to the task to carry the torch on her behalf, hopefully surviving Toranaga to prove that you can be good and still be the last man standing.